Today I'm dressed as our Tracy. It's Tracy Barlow. The higher the hair, the closer to God. Let's get into it. Well, gorgeous people, how's it going for you?
Oh, we're starting off with an ASMR podcast.
I know. Well, we've actually just finished the podcast that you're about to watch. It was with Mattie Cavan. Matthew, Maddie, Cherry, Matt, all sorts of things they're known as. But they're a friend of ours, and it was absolutely wonderful.
A man of many names and many talents, as you will know. We recently saw them in The Headless Soldier at the Mac, which was beautiful. We also recently saw them in a special triptych, was it pronounced? I think I've been pronouncing it wrong, of DUP Abomination Opera, and then also the 10 Plagues with Mark Hammond.
They're in bloody everything in this city. They're actually, they took DUP, the Abomination Opera, out to the South Bank Centre. Our next guest from a future episode has just arrived in.
Oh, yes.
Hello, love. We're not going to give it away. Here with our puppy as well.
Hello, gorgeous girl. Did you have a lovely walk?
Oh, no worries.
So they were recently, they took the DUP opera, the Abomination Opera, out to the South Bank Centre. It's been everywhere. It seems like every show that this person touches is really very successful, including their own show. So a show about, and bearing in mind that Maddie's in their 30s, you know, they're not in their 70s and they haven't died yet, which is when you normally get a show.
Yeah.
But they have a show called Mirror Ball that we were so happy to go and see, one of the first ever showings at the Lyric Theatre, about their life and their journey. Today in the podcast we get to talk about their journey. Everywhere from their theatre career to how they came up in school, how they came out, through to themes of, just a bit of a trigger warning, on sexual violence and rape and lots of other bits. It's funny though, I think Mattie has this real talent of taking some sometimes very serious and deeply traumatizing experiences and stories and things that they've been through and what other people have experienced, and turning them into something that is palatable, that you can listen to, that you can learn from. Yeah,
there's still just like the love and the light and the joy that Mattie is as a person, just like still always shines through in those topics. But it's also because, you know, it's really important for us and for all of us as we talk about these topics, that we are totally withstanding the shame and the taboo and all of the societal shite that is put on these topics, so that we can be proud, you know, and we can share things that will maybe help somebody to hear about, as some of the things Maddie's talked about in the past have helped you.
It's one of the things that's sort of, we're talking about this in the podcast too, and it's coming up right now, but it's one of the things that's sort of interwoven with queer culture. And yes, for all that comes with sadness, anywhere from how queer people are treated or were treated in the world and are still treated today, through to some of the experiences that we have had to go through. From that, you create magic people. You create magic connections. We form our own families. We have our own culture. So sometimes for being ostracized by the world and having to go through that, you actually you do. There's a positive to that. You know, you sort of you get that special energy that you kind of can't attach to anything else. You know, it's queerness, and we're so happy to be able to talk about it and to highlight it. For anyone out there that doesn't know, we are actually big gays. We came out on today's podcast as well. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's kind of big news, you know. Yeah, but we do struggle to talk about it.
I know you're probably shocked by that, but you shouldn't be too shocked by this podcast. It is so beautiful. Yeah. Well, look, hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let us know what the crack is and what you think. Of course, ring the bell and do all the other bits. And if you want to search for Mattie Cavan on all social platforms, add them, follow them. Their life is beautiful, and we love following along. And
we love them so deeply. Just love them, and we're so proud. They're such a special person in this place and of this place, you know, and we just are. We're all those.
They're a star, baby.
A star and a gag. Enjoy. Well, our guest today needs very little introduction, because you all know his make very, very well. It is Matt Cavan.
It's me.
Hello, Mattie. Does anyone call you Mattie?
Gays.
Is it a gay thing?
Some actors call me Mattie, so the cast that I'm with at the minute, they all call me Mattie, and I think that's because there's 4 of us in the cast of the adult panto, Jack and his Belfast beanstalk, and we all went to the Rainbow Factory together.
Yes.
So kind of Trudy Scrumptious started the name Mattie because I walked into Mint whenever I was not underage.
I loved Mint.
At that stage of my life, I had the most beautiful eyelashes.
Oh.
And so she said, "You look like a cow." So I'm going to call you Mattie Moo. So I was Mattie Moo for years. So actors started to know that, and gays started to know me as Mattie. But I kind of started to drop the Mattie in my 20s, but then it's kind of resurfaced, and I'm not angry about it.
You don't hate it?
I don't hate it.
It's better than being called a dick.
Yeah, I also will answer to that. And, like, there's not very many things in this world that I won't answer to.
Same. Well, we're very privileged to have you. We've been trying to book you for a few weeks,
You're in
we've
demand.
got you.
She's a busy girl.
Because right now you're adult panto over in the waterfront.
Yes.
And you're playing Daisy the cow.
Desi the cow.
Oh, Desi the cow. I'm so
Desi
sorry.
the cow.
You misgendered the cow.
I know.
Well, you see, so I am a cow.
Yes.
I have a mustache.
Yes.
I have working udders.
Wow.
I'm called Desi. So we're it's like gender fuckery with a cow.
Oh, I love
Yes.
it.
So this cow doesn't
Cow
need to be-
androgyny.
Yes.
Yes.
Androgyny cow.
Yeah.
So there doesn't need to be, we don't need to gender these things. So I am a
Yes.
made-up fictional man-woman cow.
Do you think there's lesbians called Desi? Bet you there is.
I'm sure there must be. Glitzy Glamour's definitely some sort of lesbian, isn't she? Desi Moffat. She's a lesbian.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. I think we all are here.
I would love to be a lesbian.
Yeah.
Same. You can get shit done. Get those shelves up. We always say that if you, and when we explain it to our volunteers, for example, in the shop, we all talk about lesbians in this way, that they are just the fixers, the doers, the planners. Even something as simple as, like, if we all go out for drinks and we're going round all the bars, all 4 of them, and we are in one just a wee bit too long, you know that there's a lesbian there that's like, get out of the toilets, we're good, like, get your fucking poppers from behind the bar, down your drink, get another one for the road, but we're walking.
We're walking, come on.
Why are you so behind?
It's why it's me that does all the flat pack. Do you know, or I will do the flat pack because Connor has not wanted to look at it in ages. I will open it up, look at the instructions, get all the bits laid out, figure out what all the tools are, and then Connor will come along and be like, I want to do it. That's ADHD.
We are
life as
very
well, though.
similar. I sort of will do, I do love a bit of flat packing, but I sort of get everything out, look at it, don't look at the instructions, get halfway through, realise something's missing or I've done something wrong in, like, step 1, and then go,
Smash it and burn it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I sort of get to that stage, and I could have a wee cry. I'm a crier. I'll just cry for anything. But I'll definitely have a strop, and I'll think to myself, why am I not rich? And how can I get rich? And how can I get rich quick? Do I have to start selling drugs here, or do I have to start selling my body? Because I don't know how rich either of those would get me.
Or Connor's like, I would really need a personal assistant. And then he's like, oh, I have Becky. She can do it.
Yeah, my person doesn't live with me.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does, half of the flat pack does start off with me going, I can do it.
Yeah.
Like, I will do it and you will not touch it. Like, I'm
It's
going
my
to...
project.
Yeah.
Back
I've
off.
got my hammers and screws and things. I've actually got a belt. I've got a pink
leather
tool belt.
belt.
It was very cheap in TK Maxx. It's
on
one of
the
those things that,
reduced
like,
section of
really
TK Maxx.
no. Do you know?
Clearance.
Do you know when?
Holland vapes.
Yeah.
But you know when
Yes.
the reduced section is like it's done, like there's about 3 things left.
Yeah.
That was one of them, and it was in our time when I'm saying it like we've got money now, but it was before we were paying ourselves anything. We were like perpetually skint, didn't even know if the car would get us there with the petrol that's in it.
Yeah.
But we were in TK Maxx, and you were like, what about this? And it was this pink tool belt that I think I probably only wore it in like one picture. Maybe wore it one other day to hold my fags. But it was when we were doing up our shop, I had this like extreme makeover kind of vision. We were talking about it a couple of weeks ago with Grimes and McKee, our close personal friends. We're like so in Theatreland right now.
We
We're
are.
basically actors.
We are basically.
And producers and directors. We do a lot.
We're bullshit artists
I
anyway.
mean, I can't wait for Show Some Love Productions to come out with a show.
Oh, you
Very
know it.
that.
Blind
We
You
were
know it.
talking.
Show.
Yeah,
We were talking about it in the
van
car.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's sort of like a Britain's Got Talent show.
I mean, I
Yeah.
will host it. You're welcome.
Well, we already had a thought of like alternative talent show.
Very nice.
So we would get people on to do like a talent that was something other than what they're known for talent is.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Can I judge, actually? Can I be a judge?
Well, you can host and judge. You can sort of RuPaul it.
Can I RuPaul it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I so appreciate people like you that are just like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Thank-
I'm in.
Lovely idea.
Yeah.
Lovely idea. So I'll do that bit.
Yeah.
I think we maybe said to you like 2
100%.
years ago, we're thinking about doing a podcast. You were like, I'm in.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I am there. Yeah.
Well, then we seen you on the street. Were you in rehearsals?
Yes.
So we seen you on the street. You were in rehearsals for... It wasn't for this, but it was maybe
No,
for
it's for the Headless Soldier.
Yes, which was incredible.
Yeah, so I assistant directed a new opera triptych, which is like 3 short operas all within one storyline that all fitted together. And it was amazing. I have been part of a company called the Belfast Ensemble now for 7 years that we've created sort of incredible world-renowned work, which has been fabulous to be part of. But yes, I was in rehearsals for that, and we bumped into each other and used to just receive some wonderful news.
Yes, we've actually just came out of media embargo for that, but I think what we're going to do is talk about it in the new year.
Amazing.
We've got so much on at Christmas time.
Very exciting.
It is very exciting. Yeah, it's sort of linked to putting
We
petrol
love
in the
dropping
car, actually.
breadcrumbs, though. You know, building a bit of excitement.
We're not allowed to mention, is that Hansel and Gretel?
Oh, yeah.
No, that's a competitive... that's a competitive show here, Becky.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Oh, right. I see.
Yeah,
I was
we
just like,
as
what
you're
are you
watching this, we
talking
were talking about Hansel and Gretel a couple of weeks ago, but we're done with them now. It's all about the waterfront.
It is all about the waterfront adult panto.
But no, so we were on the street that day, and you were doing your Headless Soldier opera thing. It was so beautiful. It was that church on what's that street called?
Rosemary Street.
Rosemary
Yes.
Street, where Fresh Garbage is, and up beside the Artcetra Gallery, there's a church, and then beside it they've got like a big hall. And even just speaking to you in the street, you could hear it coming out the windows.
Yeah.
It was really
beautiful.
magic. Like
Yeah.
that's just right in the middle of the city. It's so interesting the things that happen beyond the walls that you walk past that you would never imagine.
Yeah.
You know.
I love our city to look up in
Yes.
Belfast.
Yes.
One, I think the architecture in our city is stunning. Who am I? Why am I talking about architecture? That's
Wow.
But there is so
Are you
much
coming out
happen.
of street?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we've got an exclusive.
I literally sat up.
come out
I said the architecture in our cities. I went, say more.
In
But I
fairness,
do. And I've been looking
It
through
is, though.
loads of TikTok recently, and I've somehow the algorithm started showing me like historical Belfast photos. That is kind of
Yes.
just the algorithm I'm on at the minute for TikTok. And there is some buildings in that city that are exactly the same. And then there's obviously the hideous, 70s buildings beside them. But there's so much happens in our city that we have no idea about. So yes, on Rosemary Street, like we would rehearse there. NI Opera would rehearse there. Lots of different theatre companies use that room. So there will be times that you're walking down Rosemary Street or sitting at Cafe Nero in Rosemary Street and you'll hear an orchestra rehearsing or like world-renowned sopranos just belting out an aria over
That's
the
amazing.
whole of the city. It's stunning. It's a beautiful place.
There's a
to
lovely
rehearse.
art project in that, isn't there? If somebody would think about it, it's like things that you don't see, the things that happen on the floors above.
Yeah.
Do you know the stuff that isn't happening at ground level?
Well, that's
Making
what
them
that's
see.
what it was
this mill.
called.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
my God.
I was walking down the corridor, and I've been here 2 years, and I walked past, and one of the doors that I hadn't seen opened yet, like was like a reptile shelter.
Really?
You know, for like people who got like
Like a rescue centre?
lizards and
Iguana for Christmas. And then,
and then just discarded them. And
Cool.
it was so just all these shelves, just like snakes and lizards.
Wow.
And,
Oh
and I
my-
was going like, this mill surprises me.
We're
Every
in
fucking day.
Blackstaff Mill,
Do you-
if anybody
do you-
wasn't aware.
Do you remember whenever? Do you remember
Remember.
when? Do you remember whenever Britney did the Yellow Snake, the VMAs
Yes.
performance?
Oh, yeah.
I would like one of those because I'm thinking like week on week. I've worn
We
this
do
and
not
Becky's
need
already
any
worn
more
it.
living creatures in our house.
No, not in the house, just
Oh,
for
right.
entertainment purposes.
Oh,
Just
right,
for photo
okay.
shoots.
Yeah, just to wear on the
to drape.
podcast.
and
for
then
draping
you would
purposes.
look sensational.
Just
Yeah.
that's because
But the
we
tone
sort
of
of
yellow would clash with your hair.
oh cut
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben the
You might
snake.
need to wait for like a different hair color time.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
it's
think
not going to
so.
happen
No,
weirdly.
we're staying
Yeah.
highlighter yellow.
For years, I was what's paler yellow actually. Oh,
is that peeler yellow?
Yeah,
Is it
officially
something
named by
different?
Sarah O'Neill. Actually.
Well, it's paler
Yeah.
yellow, but I have heavily constructed this style today because I'm trying to cover up the fact. No offense to Orphan Annie here in the corner, but I'm trying to cover up the fact that I have ginger roots. I just couldn't take it. I did like half of a bleach, and you went to go and reapply, and I just couldn't take it. It was too much.
Bleach wasn't maybe quite thick enough or something as well, but stuck it out for an hour of like boiling head, and then it was just like, no, I had to take it off. So we'll give it another go.
I'd left my roots so long, it should have been bloody illegal.
How has your hair not fallen out at this stage?
Oh, it
An
has.
absolute miracle.
Well, it's breaking. There's whole bits that are sort of falling off. But for years, I went through a whole series of unfortunate events just before we started Another World Belfast, that probably when this goes out we've already talked about, so there we go. And at that time I actually lost hair, so I lost a few sections. I kind of just thought most of the men in my family have lost their hair, or at least in sort of my line, like my dad and my granddad and all the rest of it. And they've all lost their hair, so I sort of just thought it was happening. And they all lost their hair quite early. But when it started to happen to me, I was like...
early.
I was like, well, that's me. I'm sort of like later 20s. I've had a good run. I grew it long, which was the intention because I knew I was going to lose it. It was like, this is my last grow. And a few really sizable holes appeared in places that you really just, you didn't want them. They're harder to manage.
Being 6'1", there's not that many people could see.
Yes. Well, I shaved my head, and only that the pandemic came, I grew it back a wee bit, and then we bleached it.
You didn't shave your head. Your head was shaved by a 5-year-old because we went and did a pilot.
Was that in this mill? No, it was in Conway.
No, it was in Conway. It was in the opposing mill, a couple of streets down. But so we were, well, as you know, like we have been like setting up Another World has made us like basically we haven't had a pot to piss in. We've been really financially struggling for years. Yes. Like the irony of like nearly losing our house whilst providing stuff for people that are experiencing homelessness. However, we decided to try and do whatever we could to try and make a bit of money to just pay the bills. And one of the things that we did was a pilot for a game show. That was basically like where Connor and I were sort of competing with each other, and whoever won, it was
called. We're not allowed to share it, but we do have it, so we'll show you it after this.
Yes, yeah, we'll have the link to it. But basically, it was if I won, so I got a good prize, but Connor got a prize as well, but it was a booby prize, and so I won.
Really bad.
This theory was I got a designer haircut, and Connor got his head shaved by a 5-year-old.
It
got
kept
paid
on
500 quid to shave his head, and he thought he was losing his hair anyway, so he was going to do it anyway.
It kept on happening. Oh, yeah, so that's why I shaved it right now.
Yeah.
It kept on happening sort of throughout the years where we would get to zero. Would just like really not know what to do, and some people would say God, we would say the universe, but we would get to the point where we had nothing, and then we would just get an opportunity.
Yeah,
and that was one of them. They gave me £500. They actually offered me £300 to shave my head. And I was going to already shave my head, and I said, "Look, I like my hair. It's long, it's luscious." At this point, they hadn't really seen me.
Really good condition.
Yeah, and it was like half dead. And there's about
and
4 of them left.
And you've got a production budget.
Yeah. So they says, "Well, look, we'll give you 500," and I was like, "Yes." And we got paid for the day as well. I think we got like 300 and something £300 each for the day as well. Anyways, we're flashing. But it really
that did us for about 3 months.
It really helped us, because we were really living on a very small budget, so it really, really helped us. Like, pay our mortgage. And when we went in that day, it was when you won. So you won the haircut from a professional stylist. I won one from the stylist's nephew. You won a massage.
Yeah.
And I won getting beaten by these big sticks.
Yeah.
By like some guy that sort of looked... what was he meant to be, like Turkish or something?
Yeah, I won
like those sort of like big bushy things.
What was he meant to be, Turkish or something? We're going to get him cancelled.
Yeah,
he wasn't painted.
No,
but he was sort of it was sort of like Turkish bath style.
Yeah. Like I won an Xbox. You got your X in a box that was played by your friend. I can't remember whether it was Felon or Cavan.
It was by Felon.
Oh, by Felon. Yes, Felon and Cavan, as you know, are twins. And back then, like I really struggled to tell which was Felon and which was Cavan.
They are much easier to tell apart now.
Aren't they?
Yeah. Much easier to tell apart now.
But what else happened? You won a lovely outfit, and they give me this like fetish. So by the end, so basically it all built up. So throughout the shoot, there was it got progressively worse for me and progressively better for Becky. By the end of it, Becky had all of these things around, all these things she had won, and she was having the best time ever.
Like I got to play with a puppy. He got attacked by an attack dog.
I got attacked by an attack dog.
Connor has already got like scars on his hands from being attacked by an actual dog, so it's like full trauma. So we worked for this money, we deserved it.
We did not like. A lot of it was a lot.
And this was all done in one day?
All in one day. It was a mad shit.
Yeah.
A mad shit. So this attack dog arrived, and the guy that had the attack dog was a photographer from years ago. I'm not going to bitch the back out of him. He's called Lee Mitchell. Really very talented photographer. But I had in my sort of drug fueled haze just before I sort of went traveling. I had a big fall night with him. God knows what it was about. But we were like, I was sort of, I was. I think it's an understatement to say attracted to the kind of controversy and to the drama.
No.
And no, I know. But I had really fallen out with him. And then the person that came in with the attack dog was him. He did that on the side because I always knew you had these big dogs. But he walked in and he was like, "Oh, well, nice to see you, Connor." And he was like, "So, I'm here with the dog. What's happening?
I'm gonna keep you safe.
Are you running today? Like, what are you doing?" I says, "No, I think I'm actually the person that's going to get attacked by your dog." So they put me in, one of those suits, and then the dog had to sort of attach onto me.
Yeah.
Was that scary?
Terrible,
Yeah.
terrible, and the fact that he was in control of the dog was just was
I mean, it was mad. Like we're sitting there as like vegans, and like they'd gone to real care to make like I got a KFC, but the night before they'd made like cauliflower and made it look like KFC.
Aww.
Connor had to like hold a live chicken, then we're like there, it's like going like animals are not entertainment, and then this guy brings in this live chicken, and Connor was able to hold the chicken, but he was like by the end of it raging, standing in fetish wear, like
so by the end of it, I was wearing these.
I got egged as well.
No, these sort of generic fetish wear. So
but straight fetish wear is chosen by straight people.
I kind of regret I didn't keep them though because they couldn't have reused them. But there were these gorgeous like rubber shorts with like a wee zip in them. I spent the whole day with the semi. Like it was amazing. So I had those on. By the end of it, I was covered in flour. I was covered in eggs. I had the fetish wear on. I think I had a ball gag as well. And I was holding a chicken. A live chicken. Like I'm glad that what you said. Like I'm glad of what you said. Was that all in the one day? Because we don't know. We don't know like how it works, or we're just sort of there. And
it was like a day and a night.
By the end of it, we were so tired, and I was so cold because you're like
bald
and bald and all the rest of it. Like, and it wasn't even just bald; it was bits.
It was
like,
half bald.
Bits.
Yeah, we had to go and finish.
We had cinnamon powder all over us. We had like booked half of that all over me. It was a lot. And this man put the chicken into my arm, and it started to kick me. And I was like, "Get this fucking chicken!
I am done. I am done."
And there were like one more shot, and I was like, "See you and your fucking chickens. You can shove your chickens up your fucking hole, and your animal cruelty fucking bullshit." And I
Connor didn't like how the guy was handling the chicken.
They had to actually remove the guy, and I had to go out the other door because I was like, "You doing your Game of Thrones dogs? You're fucking full of shit. Using animals for entertainment, you bastard." This
Connor was still very deep in trauma at the time. It has to be said.
This man was just looking at me like, "Who is this mental actor?" And I'm like, "I'm not a fucking actor. I'm just poor." Like,
so we sort of untapped something that day.
Yeah. Something got released.
How did that come about?
We went to go. We were like looking online at all the extra stuff because we were very much in the space of we could just go and get any job, but I could go and work in a salon. You could go and work sort of wherever in the corporate world. But it's just the energy that took away from the full time nature of what we were trying to do and how we were trying to put ourselves across and the amount of work that we had. Yeah. So we were looking.
We needed something high paid, but for low time. So that sort of seemed, and also we were like, we have no ego, we're not worried about being cool or whatever, we're unscunderable, so we'll do anything. And then we went to what we thought was a 50 quid a day job, and turned out that was an audition for the big job, and so we didn't even know we were auditioning, and they had us in like buckets of or barrels of water singing Elton John and Kiki Day, Don't Go Breaking My Heart,
and we're just like
throwing water at us as we're trying to sing competitively and all these other things.
In situations like that, do you ever kind of have this out-of-body experience looking at yourself going, what the fuck are you doing?
I think as a smoker, and then we weren't just smoking.
No, we were making big people then.
We were high. But as a smoker, you would, especially in that sense, you would have to walk quite a bit away, and you would sort of get a bit of a perspective on the building. I'd be standing on the falls, just thinking, what the fuck?
How have I got to this stage?
Yeah, and at what point did I decide not to top my fucking self? Like, this is mad.
But what is the weirdest thing that you have done in your world of like theatre and acting and like obviously, like you I mean, you kind of are like, what's the word? Like
a star.
Well, obviously a star, but like you can just sort of like channel a character. You become Cherry. Do you know? So what? But what is the kind of the weirdest element of that you've experienced?
I don't know, because I think I'm quite unflappable and a bit unstunderable, so many things can happen to me or around me and I don't get fazed. I've done some weird jobs. I've over lockdown with the Belfast Ensemble, we did this sort of like take on a Beethoven, Mozart orchestral piece of 5 musicians, and I just had to, during one of these like string quartet beautiful pieces of music, quite sort of jolly jaunty, I had to pole dance in a pair of like white slips from Primark and a pair of red thigh-high fuck me boots, whilst Vladimir Putin was projected on a back wall.
Oh, propaganda.
Melania Trump was doing a speech over the top of it. I was pole dancing whilst being painted red.
Yes,
that's what I was looking for. Yes.
So that was a day of work in the middle of a lockdown.
I love that you're like, this is
time. I also did a show called Bison in 2009, 2010, where we had to do 10 minutes at the end of the play where we all got completely bollock naked and did this. The play all ended up in a gay sauna. And the piece was called Bison because it was about how gay men seem to just make these patterns. No matter where we are in the world, the gay scene just sort of reiterates these patterns. And so this sauna scene, 4 actors, and it was in like a sweat box in London. So it was in a theatre called the Oval House, upstairs in the Oval House. And 50-seater, June 2010, hot, like 40 degrees in London outside. And we had
better than cold.
Much better than cold. So I looked massive. But yeah,
you heard it here first. Maddie's got a very, very big penis.
Huge. But we had to do this scene. But I worked with an actor who's an incredible actor, but it was in a bit of a difficult space at that time,
to say the least.
And I had to like do this slow walk across the front of the stage. He would drop his towel. I would go down on my knees, go close to him, and then I would move on just to simulate oral sex. And there was this one show where he just got a bit carried away with himself and grabbed the back of my head and shoved his penis against my face and then kind of wouldn't let me go.
Wow.
And it was hot and it was sweaty.
And sticky, probably.
And sticky.
Oh, nice.
And also...
Out of context, penis is not the moment.
Generally unwanted.
Generally unwanted. And also this amazing, and I'm a big fan of this person, but at that time was a big drinker. And so definitely had that sort of alcoholic smell about him as well. Mixed with the heat and the 3 of us sweaty men and a 50 gay men audience who were all a bit turned on and a bit sweaty themselves.
Yeah.
And then we were doing this and I was getting the dick rubbed in my face and I was like, what has happened?
This is life.
This has turned a corner.
Yeah.
And I just got diagnosed HIV positive about 5 months before this. So I was in a very weird mental space. And like I just got to London and I was like, yes, I'm living my dream.
Yes.
Even though my life has gone to absolute shit. I am doing a play in London.
Yeah.
And then that happened and I was like, this is not.
I'm so glad to hear where Bison ended up.
Yeah.
Because in all of the stories and all the conversations over the years, I would never find that out. We've been watching everything that we could find about you.
Yeah, we really enjoyed your TED Talk. We watched it before,
it was
but
very
we watched
good.
it last night in preparation for
very
you
good.
coming on. Oh my God, it was so beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Like, it's such a, like, it's a... Like, even just the timelines of your life and the context that you put that into. But one of the things for us that really sort of hit us the most was, and you know, whenever your reactions are sort of happening in conflict almost with each other, was whenever you were talking about the director at the time, that whenever you'd given them the news and then they made you jump straight into that scene where you had to say the sentence or the words like HIV and AIDS and things like 10 or 12 times. And you were like, you know, what are they doing? You know, this is like really hard, this is really traumatic. And they were trying to help you by saying, right, well, now you've said it.
You've said it, you've done it.
Like, that made me really emotional seeing that last night.
Yeah,
it's like...
Because like I went from the hospital that morning receiving that diagnosis and then my mother held me, and we had, because my mum was a midwife, so she was at the hospital, and then I had to go straight into rehearsals, and it was like boof boof boof, and I genuinely, honestly, in retrospect, look back and go, if I had not have done that, I don't know where I would have gone that afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, I went from there, I went to Trudy Scunch's house. She lived right beside Union Street, and me and Gordon were very close at the time, and he put me on his sofa and kept me there for a few days. And
Yes.
we watched season 1 of Drag Race, like the Vaseline,
Oh, yeah.
the age of Vaseline
Filter.
Drag Race,
Yeah.
on like some sort of bootleg copy that he was able to like rip offline because there was nowhere. He had to watch
Yeah.
it at like 5 o'clock in the morning on an E4 at that stage.
This was in the 70s.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. It was actually, we got it on VHS, Betamax. Like,
Yeah.
Betamax. That's Judy. She still uses the
She
Betamax.
still
Actually,
uses-
she'll never.
It's very traditional.
And mini discs. She has a mini disc and a Betamax.
She turns up to all their gigs and they're like, "Love, it's not fucking 1995."
Yeah, it's just
We
a camcorder.
we jazz. But yes,
Oh,
and
that's
so
pretty.
truly, but I do think Alison Campbell is an incredible director, the director of it. Who now lives in Australia. But and I spoke to her quite recently about that, and she went, I don't even fully remember doing that like that. Like,
Oh.
and she kind of apologized to me. It's like, oh no, please do not apologize for it. It was one of the best gifts that someone could have given me, was face this straight on. Do not go and hide. This is not what this will be made up into your head.
Yeah.
We can get through this. You can get through this. This is okay.
Yeah, I get the story of Bison that you were doing at the time that you
Yes.
went into to sort of rehearse and that had happened. I guess it never really is. There's never really so much of a positive outcome in those stories. But did everyone, was there an HIV and AIDS focus, but everyone was happy? Or what, did they, is that what happened? Or did you then have to, in your show, did you have to go through each of your...
So that scene that we had to rehearse was my character, Jace, 19, fresh, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, unjaded by the world, meets a man in his 50s, late 50s, in a bar, who is sitting at a bar drinking by himself, completely broken because all his friends are dead.
Wow.
His generation are dead. His ex-partner is dead because of this virus. So it was a really tough scene. And, we did it for 2 weeks in Belfast, just after my diagnosis. And then we had a couple of months off, and then we took it to London. It did not ever get any easier. Like that, it was always going to be a very difficult scene. And Bison is an amazing play. It's written by a playwright called Lachlan Philpott from Australia. And it's a sensational piece, but it is not a happy, clappy, wee gay play. It's quite dark. It's quite grim. It's also very sexy and, all of those things, but it was tough. And I was definitely glad to kiss that play goodbye at the time that we did.
What a moment, though. It's because you sort of where my question comes from is it a rent? Does it, which isn't exactly very uplifting, but at least it ends with like 429,600 minutes, and all the gays are like, "Oh, brilliant!"
Well, yes, I think we did end on Barbra Streisand's "Could Be, Who Knows." Something's Coming from West Side Story is kind of how the piece ended.
That's sort of as
So I mean,
uplifting as it got.
Like, I will happily listen to Barbra Streisand and that will always snap me out of whatever funk I'm in. So
Smashing stereotypes here.
So we did end on Barbara. We didn't end on like a wee, kumbaya moment.
Yeah.
But we definitely did end on like sort of voguing out to Barbara.
And at that time, you were the age of the character? No. Because if I were 19...
2 years old, 2 years older, 1 year older, I got diagnosed. What age am I? No, I'm 30, 35, 34 or something. So yeah, I would have been 20. So I was a year older than Jace would have been.
Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
No. I used to. Like, I come from quite a religious family.
Yeah.
Both my parents are Christians. We were Presbyterians. And then I kind of hit my late teens. I'd been told that whenever I came out at church, the minister said, "That's okay, but I need to sit at the back of the church because you need to heal from this." And then I left the church quite soon after that, but I kind of hung on to my faith for quite a bit. Like whenever I was in London doing Bison, I was going to Hillsongs London every Sunday, which was in the Dominion Theatre. Yeah. And I think more because it was like going to see a big musical on a Sunday, but for free. I still would hanker after worship music. I think there's something very beautiful about worship music.
It's in your DNA.
It's in my DNA. But I have absolutely massively turned my back on all of that. I find it very damaging and very hurtful, and but it still brings my parents a lot of solace. So I don't hate it so much that I want every Christian to not be a Christian. But
yeah, for sure.
I think that's kind of like quite a commonly held perspective. It's like, you do you, and you believe whatever it takes for you to have, you know, if you believe that's where you get your moral compass from, and you're not using that as a mechanism to hurt somebody else, knock yourself out there. You enjoy that. But I think it you know, we all, like, for people who have been sort of formally brought up in those for me, it wasn't a household, it was grandparents.
Okay.
My parents were just never ever did it. You know, it was like a Sunday school, you get whipped away, but it was more just to get us out of the house for a couple of hours. Yeah, but like from I was a child, I would say, I was like, no, I don't buy it. But at the same time, I got much more sort of strongly atheist going out through, you know, in your 20s, you're like, you know, everything.
Oh, yes.
And everything is very strong, you know. As I came into my 30s and now in my 40s, now I'm much more like, oh, you. But
Mattie can stay.
but now I'm much more like, okay, if you're not using that as a mechanism to divide and control and to judge and all the rest of it, it's the hypocrisy that kind of gets me the most, you know, and particularly, you know, where we live, like it's a particular struggle. But then also
in Dunmurray.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, but like a lot of the Christians I know are not that Christian. You know, I do know a lot of incredible Christians who are show some love. You know, it's that, like, my mum and my dad are the most gorgeous people, and they are so genuine and so loving and caring about all. And like, my mum has kind of gone on this real journey. Like, whenever I came out, she was great. She found it quite difficult. I was the asshole. I moved out of my parents' house because I was like, "Yous are making this very difficult for me." And I sofa hopped around Belfast for a year, and then I realised Christmas is coming up. I want my presents, and I moved home. But that whole time I was in Belfast, because I had heard those horror stories of people being kicked out of their house. And I was like, that didn't happen to me. How dare I need a story. So I just started telling everyone that my parents kicked me out and they're awful and they're homophobic.
That was the story that I held until literally last night.
Oh, really?
I promise we were watching a thing and you talked about kind of the mechanic of that, sort of something similar to what you've just said. And I was sitting on top of our bed watching all the bits, and I was like, oh, that's sort of the missing piece for me, because you have such a good relationship with your parents now.
They're amazing, and they always have been. I was the asshole in the situation.
You're also going through,
yes,
you know,
like there was a lot I was unpacking, and you know, also I came out quite soon after. So I came out when I was 16, in the middle of I was doing a dance course in tech.
Yes.
And I also had a girlfriend at the time in Carrick, and we were going to like youth fellowship in like Woodlands Presbyterian Church. And I then was coming up to Belfast and doing dance and being very openly gay in my course. But the year before this, I went through a sexual assault, rape in Belfast City Centre with a man. So I kind of went through that, went, this is not great. Police, GCSEs, failed them all, dance. Oh my God, I can be gay. How fabulous is this? Look, all of these like pretty boys in my dance class are gay. I can do this. But I need to be straight here. I need to go back to my girlfriend and my parents, and, you know, gay is wrong in Jesus' eyes. Yeah. And then I kind of went, I can't do this anymore. And one Sunday night, my girlfriend didn't come to youth fellowship with me. She stayed at home. We talked about, I don't know, we're doing some sort of like Know Jesus Deeper course. And at the end of it, I went, to my youth leader, and so here's the thing, this is who I am, I'm gay, and sort of came out to him, and he went, prayed with me or something. And then I went home and my brother was sitting on the sofa, mum and dad were in bed, and I kind of just went, David, I'm gay. And he was like, yes.
Yeah.
And why? I know you should probably split up with your girlfriend, mate.
Yeah.
So I texted her.
Wow.
Like on my Nokia 3210, in between like rounds of Snake, texted and went, so Laura, just let you know I'm gay. And she went, I'll take it, then we're not together. And I was going out with this girl for like over a year. Like, it was awful.
And that then is massive.
Huge.
Yeah.
And like, she was into rugby. Her mum was like head of sports in the University of Ulster. Her dad was a golfer.
They were my girlfriends. Do you remember when girls started to wear, it was like trendy to wear the rugby tops?
Canterbury bottoms and Ulster rugby tops.
I still get the horn for a fucking rugby top. We're gonna get you in a rugby top. But I still get the horn for a rugby top based off of the fact of somewhat masculine men. I'm really thinking about the girls. If anyone's watching this, I do love you, and you're very sweet. But sort of more butch girls.
Yeah.
And I swear they were. They were sort of the stepping stone.
Isn't that like
to men?
And like, but by the time our relationship had ended, it started with her in Canterbury bottoms and an Ulster rugby top, and it ended with her in makeup and dresses. Okay. And I didn't intentionally do that. I didn't intentionally go, I'm going to femme you up, because that, even back then, I hated all of that stuff. Like, it never bothered me about what people wore, who they were, how they looked. But by the end, she was in like mascara and like nice dresses, and then I went, love, bye, I'm ready to suck dick.
But at that age, she was probably also just kind of like finding her identity and like experimenting with different things as well,
And she's amazing, and she's married, and I think has kids and all, so it's all worked out well for Laura. I still am not married and still out of love and no children.
Oh, stop it. Well, you're very loved.
Yeah,
you're very loved.
Very, very, very loved.
Yeah.
Do you know? If we can sort of like circle back on like one of the like, we could have a podcast about each of those points. Yeah. But if we could circle back on what happened to you in Burger King that time, do you think that the fact that it happened whenever it happened, and you were sort of struggling, I guess, with your sexuality then, do you think that had an impact? Was there a part of you that thought possibly that maybe that had made you gay, or because I don't sort of know the full story when it comes to that, but is there,
because at that time we didn't have the language to know that you're born that way. Do you know? So you're being bombarded with messages and things like, even I think somebody, maybe it was on the podcast you were on with Brona and Diona, and which is such a lovely name pairing, I realise now. But where there was like almost like a turn of phrase that said something like, Brona was talking about somebody saying about her child having a doll. Do you not think that would make them gay? And actually it was Diona that said, and you can't make anybody gay, that they are, they aren't. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you
Full disclosure, Bruna is a gay man.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So like, I also went through sort of sexual stuff very young with a guy, like very, very young. And so I don't know, I think I've been quite predisposed to sex from a very early age. And but a lot of that was really repressed memory. So I didn't remember the childhood stuff. And then the stuff happened whenever I was 16. And I then had to go to therapy for it. And during this therapy, all of this repressed memory came out, and I went, "Wow, I am also a dramatic wee shit. Am I just making this shit up? Like, is that what's going on here?"
Totally.
Because you don't trust yourself, especially if it's not solid memory. But my brother at the time was away in America doing like a year's sort of missionary team, and my brother's 5 years older than me, so I messaged him, I think on like Bebo or something, to say, David, do you ever remember me talking about this person or this happening? And he said, yeah, Matt, I totally do. Now that you say that, I totally remember you saying that. So I realised then it wasn't made up. So I do think I was quite predisposed. I also did lose my gay virginity quite young through choice. And I still quite often see that guy. He was also quite young, so that doesn't feel too seedy. But so I was on gaydar from I was about 14. I went and met this man. You know those apartments by Albert Clock?
Oh yeah.
Sort of if you're looking at
the ones that get the good view.
Rich daddy vibes.
And daddy, we were sort of late 50s, and I was definitely not of age. And like I went round to his house one day because of gaydar, and like I went into his house like I had not seen a sex toy or anything. And I went into his house, and on his bed he had like double-ended dildo, vibrator, butt plug, handcuffs, chains, whip, all just laid out. And I went, I am in too deep here. So whenever then what happened in Burger King happened, I had definitely been exposed to gay sex, and I had realised by that stage I had definitely realised that I was gay. I just needed the few steps to be able to come out.
Good.
So when I was raped, sexually assaulted at 16, It was a total mindfuck because part of me was like, this is the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me. This is awful. I hate every single thing about this. But then there was also that part of me going, this is the sex I like. You know, maybe less aggressive, but, you know, it's a man. And actually, he was quite a good-looking man, if memory serves me right. And so there was definitely this, do I hate this? Did I actually just ask for this? Like, you know, was I being a wee camp fairy around Burger King? Did I give him the eye?
Did you invite that?
Did I invite that on myself by being me?
Or did you miss that part? You know what you're saying about all those years ago, sort of thinking, well, yeah, I'm dramatic and I am this and I'm that, and did I make it up, or is it something that I imagined? Then in that trauma space, you will immediately often forget have clarity on the situation. So you're like, was there a conversation before? Did I was this something that we agreed?
Yeah.
You know, or is it something? Maybe I'm the one that's misunderstanding. Maybe it's actually not rape or sexual assault.
I do think that happens fairly frequently with people who go through sexual trauma. Is you put a lot of the blame on yourself.
Yes.
You know, and at the end of the day, we need to know that no matter what you do in your life, or no matter how you're presenting yourself, or how, you know, what you're wearing or who you're being, nobody deserves that, and you deserve the power to be able to say no in those situations. Sometimes you just can't. You know, I was in a single toilet cubicle with a man who was much stronger than me, and I dared not say no because he was a scary man, and the CCTV footage was terrible. But you see me arrive at the Burger King, him arrive at the Burger King, him go to the toilet, me go to the toilet, him leave 35 minutes later, me leave 15 minutes later after that, and you can clearly see that I was very distressed. But I was going from, I went from a Make Poverty History rally in Custom House Square, which my sister had ran, because my sister is amazing and we did a lot of charity stuff, and I was going from there to City Church in the Holy Lands, that my brother was going to South Africa to do, again, some missionary work, and he was doing a film night. He showed this film about women being raped in Africa.
Oh my God.
So I left Burger King and went, this is not going to ruin me. This is not going to ruin my life. It's not going to ruin, especially not going to ruin my night. I need to go to this fundraiser. Walked up to the fundraiser. Didn't fully realise the
there to support your brother. Yeah.
Sat down and went,
chicken.
Fuck. So yeah, it is definitely weird being a gay man to go through gay sexual trauma and then trying to balance what was the trauma, what was in, you know, because there is definitely some, not enjoyment, but there is definitely something in it.
Go ahead.
But I had just to sort of, I sort of have to say this out loud, but I've previously heard you say that, and I find it so powerful. I think it's really important that people say that out loud, that even if you're in a space where you've still got a hard on, or you I don't know, you sit afterwards and you have a wank over it, or you reconstruct it, or you whatever it is, it still doesn't take away from the fact that happened, and it is what it is. I remember listening to you on a podcast years ago saying that out loud, and it really helped me. It really, I imagine it really helped a lot of people, because it's the thing that we're frightened to say, that there's almost, and part of the confusion is an enjoyment, or the fact that we sort of can often then fetishize our trauma in that way. You know, that actually there's a real head fuck in that, unless you hear someone who's brave enough to say, this happened, this is how I felt from it, and it really fucked me up. Because it's you've did the work, but it helps then other people to kind of unlock something, you know?
Because like I would still say, you know, I've never fully dealt with it. I'm very good at starting therapy, and then I'll do like 1 or 2 weeks. And because I talk so much, I'm an open book, and we'll talk about anything, and we'll happily talk about I'll trauma dump on anyone. So I, you know, talking therapy doesn't really work for me. But then they start to go, right, we're going to go a bit deeper, and then I go, fuck you. I am. And then
I don't like the way you're looking at me.
So, you know, I don't think I've ever fully worked through it. And I don't know whether you ever fully can work through trauma like that.
Yeah.
But it definitely still controls part of my sex life. You know, I find intimate sex quite difficult. So in relationships, you know, my ex-partner, who is now my best friend, and you know, the platonic love of my life, we are non-romantic life partners.
I love watching your sort of love journey.
Yeah, he's amazing, but we are like weird gay brothers now.
Yeah.
But one of the big downfalls of our relationship was he knew, one, that I'm a bit of a dirty bastard. The two, that I do, there's a lot of sex that I enjoy. And has heard my stories, and I'm very open about, you know, being the slut in my 20s and all of those things. But then whenever it came to having sex with him or any close partner, there's like this switch that I find so difficult, because it then becomes intimate and it becomes with a person that I adore and love, when that's not what sex is to me. Sex is, you know, a bit damaging, a bit of a commodity. You know, I was a rent boy whenever I was 17 to just to be able to drink and mint. You know, so I then use sex so there's so much around sex that is not the great thing to have with a partner.
It's not linked with you with love.
No, it's linked with a bit of pain, a bit of nastiness. So one night stands, being able to meet up with some random, have, you know, whatever kind of sex, but then never see that person again. That works for me. But whenever it becomes to, I have to wake up with you and I have to see you and we have to converse and I love you, and it gets messy and it gets very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's control and vulnerability and all of those complexities and all the rest of it. And I think even like the commonality with what you talked about in terms of like HIV and in terms of sexual violence and things like that as well, it's like what you have to deal with individually in your own head about how you feel about yourself, about how you feel about the world and other people. And you, like, that is a lot for any human being to have one of those things to go through, you know, never mind both of those things. But then the additional, you know, element that sadly you have had to go through, and lots of people do, is then the societal element. You know, it's like we now all know that HIV and AIDS is not a killer. You know, you can live with it, you can live, you can be undetectable. You know, all of these things. You know, we start to get now the messages out there about that. We're still not there. There's still a lot of people need to know more about that, about PrEP and PET, and it's the judgments and the misunderstandings, and it's the things that people feel okay to comment on. You know, it's just like I think this is the world of social media. It's the world of keyboard warriors and things, and people that are just misinformed and thinking that their opinions are somehow valid or relevant or useful in a space that they don't know about. But then, you know, knowing more about you and things like that and what you have overcome. You know, because I know that you say, rightly so, that, you know, you don't know whether you ever be fully healed from something like that, but you do learn to cope and you do learn to overcome, and you can steal your life back again and grab those gold wings. Sorry, making a TED Talk reference there. You must go and...
The understanding that you may never be healed is healing in itself.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, thinking about more recently, like what you have, like we were, you know, sending our messages to each other through Instagram and things like that, with what you recently went through with Jolene Bunting and Drag Queen Story Hour, like... Holy shit, wee lad! Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
do you read some really controversial? I've never heard your stories, but are they really controversial?
Yeah, are you basically like reading porn to children? Is that what you're doing again? Is that what it is? Well,
if
in full fetish wear.
Yes. Well, if we believed what Jolene Bunting's putting out there, I am reading the sauciest material.
Yeah, and it's about princesses. Surely you know, they're uplifting, empowering stories for children.
Like, I mean, my favorite book that I read is my hold on, I haven't done a story time in quite some time because of the trauma of it all.
I'm triggered.
My Shadow is Pink, it's called, and it's written by a guy called Stuart Scott from Australia, whose child, I believe, is non-binary. Don't like, this could all be totally wrong, and I'm sorry, Stuart, if you ever come across this. But the book is basically about a boy who comes from a family who all have blue shadows, and his shadow is pink, and his shadow likes to dress up in dresses and twirl and dance. And he starts his first day at school and receives a letter from school saying, come to school but dress up as whatever your shadow's favourite thing is. So he puts on a dress and he walks into school and everyone looks at him and he runs away, and then his dad dresses up in a dress and they walk to school together, And it's just the most
heart.
gorgeous little book about, it doesn't matter what you wear, you know, it's, you know, all of these things. It's about self-acceptance, about self-love. But that's the book that they absolutely despise. That's me pushing a trans agenda on the world, or my queer agenda.
And the irony of the fact that they themselves will have been to a pantomime since they were a child. And there is always drag in a pantomime. Disney princesses, whether they own a penis or a vagina,
Are drag
queens. Do you know what I mean?
They're stories of outsiders.
Yeah.
And I think that we all believe ourselves to be outsiders. It's kind of just somehow the way that the world works. Sometimes we can have the popular friends, but we always feel like we're just sort of part of them, that we're lucky to be there. Sometimes we can have a great job, but we will tell ourselves that it must be some sort of mad mistake, or that you don't deserve to be here. Imposter syndrome. But it's the story of humanity, and I think all kids need to hear stories like that. But the little queer boy inside of me is just needed to hear that, you know, needed to I needed that. I needed to sit and speak to someone that was different, and not listen to someone come in and play guitar and tell me about fucking Jesus again. You know, I needed like weird,
or
the
some
people,
creepy old woman in like a cardigan and like a gypsy skirt, reading with Goldilocks and Three Bears,
Irish traveller skirt, actually.
Yes.
I'm only joking. That was actually only a joke. That was only a joke.
In Carrick Library, reading Goldilocks and Three Bears, like that's
Like
not
it took
the thing.
for you two to be in your teens and watch Queer as Folk before you saw
Oh.
any, because that was really formative for both of you.
I think
you know?
the first time that I ever seen or knew that rimming was a thing
Was
was on
episode
that.
one.
Was that
Episode
that
one.
scene, the back sweat and
Yes.
every single part of that. I just thought I'm going to be Stuart.
Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan.
Nathan.
But I thought I'm going to be Stuart, and I still have an aspiration to be that daddy.
I want that car. Like
I want
to
the
this
car.
Day, I still want that car. And I want fag like spray painted on the side.
Yes, and he took him to school in the fag car.
Yeah, I
every
want
part
that.
of it. Like even the fact that the episode where his mummy finds drawings of other boys' dicks. Yeah. I swear the video, it was actually my sister had the box set, and them videos were done. Like, you know, you could pause, but it would sort of hold the tape.
Yeah.
It was there.
And it was like slightly flicker.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like sexually attracted to glitches for that reason. You
Note
know,
our social media content.
actually, maybe that's where that comes from. But Queer as Folk was
Folk.
probably one of the only, because there was sort of some gay representation. It was all coded.
Yeah. So
and
Graham Norton at 11 o'clock on Channel 4.
very that, but
Yeah.
it felt really explicit and really off it, really real, really sort of off a time. I just love it even now. You know,
Please don't come after me for this. But whenever I started that tech course, the dance course in tech, like I was goody two shoe boy, you know, Christian family, really goody two shoes. So I'd never done anything kind of bad. I think I maybe stole a Freddo once from like the Super Value in Victoria Road in Carrick. Felt so bad about it that I think I maybe went back and gave money for into a charity box. That was me. So cut to me being like newly out, sofa hopping around Belfast, not very much money.
anyone heard of Remen?
But going, and like a couple of people in my tech class going like, have you never stolen it? And I was like, no. Shit. Am I supposed to have stolen something?
Yeah.
And they were like, you like what? You've never stolen something?
Yeah.
Come on into town. Let's go steal something.
Yes.
So we went into town. We went into HMV. Like went up to the first floor or second floor and was having a look.
That was a risky start. Starting with HMV.
I know.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's Queer as Folk. I haven't seen that in years. There's Queer as Folk. And I said to the girl, I think, what was her name? Kelly or something. I said, can you get me that? She went, just lift it yourself. And I went, I know, but there's a security tag on it. And she's like, give me it. I'll get the security tag off, and then you just put it in your bag.
She was
she was a whiz kid at it. Like she had the security tag off and discarded before even anyone.
Kelly's now in prison.
yeah. Slipped it to me. But I mean, like Connor, my housemate, best friend, non-empathic life partner, we had to go and borrow, you know, those like little pencils from Argos, steal little pencils from Argos for a show I was doing once, and I walked in and like they're free, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're not. It's
Like
not
the Bookie
really
pencils.
stealing.
And they're branded,
Yeah.
so that it's
And
the
they're
ones you
branded.
see.
Ikea as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sell them at school.
Like
Yeah.
I needed to get a load of them. It was for a show called Titanic Boys, a Martin Lynch piece called Titanic Boys, and we needed these wee wooden pencils because that's what they would have used in the shipyard or something.
Yes.
So I went in and like,
Made like a whole thing of
what is
it.
wrong with your face? And I went, what do you mean? And he was like, you look like you've just murdered someone. The guilt.
You haven't robbed the shop.
We need to go out here. Matt, it's
My
about
hands,
3
blood
pencils.
red.
It's about 3 pencils. So you can imagine what my actual face was like when I was stealing, you know, Queer as Folk from HMB.
Did you get it?
I stole it and then felt so proud of myself that I went and stole a box of strawberries from Tesco's.
It makes all those. So you
strawberries.
sat eating your strawberries, having a wank.
Yeah. Rubbing
You're
like
all biz with your
strawberry
like
juice over
burgeoning
my
life of crime.
Wow.
You're like Lady Macbeth in the sink after.
Yeah. Out, damn spot. Out. Yeah.
See what you say about tech and all the stealing and all the rest of it, and you went into tech and you did your dancey theatre thing. If you can rewind a couple of years, I think a couple of years on that, maybe you came from tech, but I think possibly you were the year above me in school. Did you go to?
I
So
went
we
to
both.
Lydia.
We couldn't figure
Yes,
this out.
so you
You
went
were
to
born
Lydia.
in 1989.
Yeah.
Connor was also born in 1989. What
Were
month?
you after? When are you?
October.
Yes, so I would have been the year above you in school.
Yes, because
Oh,
I
that's
remember.
what- of course,
I
that's
remember
how it
there was like a
works.
cross kind of school partnership thing because I always knew you went to a different school, and I kind of knew off you because there were so little gays, and I was a gay. I was out, and there was like
you
one of
were
us.
Gay. You were very gay.
Well, actually, so much so that for one of our, they're really we've talked about this before in the podcast. I had a real problem at school with the queerness and teachers and all the rest of it. They were terrible, and they had a non-uniform day. And it was also the same day as the talent show. Do you know about this? No. So it was a non-uniform day and a talent show. And we were doing it, you could put yourself in to sing something. And I put myself in to sing Shirley Bassey. And they thought it was really strange. So I then went in non-uniform, but brought basically probably loads of my sisters and my mum's clothes.
Yeah.
A wig from somewhere, maybe it was a head wrap, but I packed this bag, and I swear you would think, again, it's that same thing, like you would think that it was like committing some mad crime, you know, like, but I went into the boys' toilets, went into a cubicle, took all my clothes off, got into just the worst looking,
You're Shirley Bassey.
terrible drag. I remember using a pan stick in my face and just shoving a load of lippy on, and I walked out of the toilets, and I remember there was a teacher called Mr. Bell. He was a real bully. He was terrible. He used to tell people they were stupid, you know, that kind of just terrible way of being. But he really especially hated me and my campness. And when I walked out of the toilets dressed as this knockoff of Shirley Bassey, the pan stick was white.
Oh, nice.
But wait,
Shirley
like
trashy.
it was I don't even know what it would be used for. But anyway, it was this pan stick, and went and did Big Spender. I actually had backing singers. I don't know how, because I never really had friends. So I had a couple of backing singers and sung Shirley Bassey. I remember there was a kid in my year called Sam, this sort of very skinny, sort of twinky, mad, dancery person, was very talented and sung Titanic. Do you remember Sam? Real like,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
you know, very that,
Yes,
like sort of Jack from Will and Grace.
Yes,
like,
I know exactly
like if
what
I
you're
was
talking
camp,
about.
he made me look straight.
Yeah, you were.
So he did My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, which is just, even just thinking about it as a guy, he had, and I in school he actually bullied me a wee bit, and we didn't have an amazing relationship.
That's a projection thing,
Oh,
isn't it?
massively.
But by the end of it all, we were sort of friendly enough. But anyways, he did this thing where he was sitting on a chair, you know, like the Westlife chair
change?
stand.
Yeah.
The key change, he did that, and all. I remember just watching it in the back of the room, and actually at the time being like, "You bastard,"
Do you
because
carry grammar?
Carrickfergus grammar still.
Carrickfergus grammar still.
Yes.
I realised not Shirley Trashy, Shirley Brassey.
Yes,
That's
Yes, it was.
You
It was
never
one
know,
of those
maybe that'll come in the
wigs
future.
that was attached there. So basically, this
That's our
hairband,
show.
but with the wig.
Yes, I know exactly the type of song.
But yeah, so that level of gay. But anyways, whenever I was in school, I didn't really do any of the extracurricular stuff. I never really got into any of it. I was just frightened and
by.
just trying to sort of survive and get it over and done with. And and get the fuck out. I used to listen to Small Time Boy by Bronski Beat and just think, I am getting the fuck out. Isn't it funny? We're like the other side of Carrick, just like as soon as we get a second, we're getting out of here, or I'm getting out of here. But so I did, one of the extracurricular things that I did do was like a dance thing, and you did it. I remember, I don't know if you remember any of this, but it was for a program called Rock Challenge. Do you remember? How far did you end up going the whole way with us to the waterfront? Okay, so I've got a confession to make about one thing. This isn't really a confession; it's just me saying it out loud. But I remember the day that you walked in and meeting the sort of the gay that had her tail off in the room.
Legend.
Yeah, I wanted to do nothing else, and this was like maybe me, like 14, 15. But I wanted to do nothing else but ride the life video. I was like, I don't know how riding works. I don't know.
Life hasn't changed really very much, has it?
Right.
You know.
Well, that's what we're
Love
doing
finds
after.
a way.
That's
What's happening after this?
That's our Patreon special. A wee bit of riding.
Yeah. Your Patreon and my OnlyFans.
But I remember seeing you and just thinking, oh my God, it's another gay. Like, again, I don't know how it works, but I want to make it work. But
I was not an attractive teenager, though.
You were a gay.
A gay. It did not matter the looks.
You were you were a gay and you had a penis.
And star power, no doubt.
I actually
even
no.
back then.
I think about you as being actually very attractive. I think you had this like real sort of. It's like the way that gays had their hair, then like straightened and gelled.
And
and
if you're going on a YouTube deep dive on Mattie Cavan, then you can find quite a lot, even from like 10, 15 years ago and stuff. You're gorgeous.
Yeah.
You've always been gorgeous. And you can see like how you would have, you know what I mean? You know, whenever you can see the wee baby face and stuff like. But I've no doubts that you were have always been a stunner.
I feel like I'm in therapy here. So if you let me finish my story, I barely get to speak on this thing, for fuck's sake.
No, like you've barely said boo.
Barely. But
we'll have to wrap up.
We are going to wrap up. But on Rock Challenge,
yes.
Do you remember at the very, very start there was like a reveal that you came behind? We came out of behind these boards. So do you remember whenever, I've never told anyone this, I don't think anyone knows this is the truth, but do you remember that we lost the competition because one person, we had these glow sticks on the end of sticks, and one person put the glow stick up and waved it, and we lost the competition because of that. Like that was me.
Oh, you're a dick. You're a dick.
Do you feel better
I remember.
now?
Yeah, I remember
my because of you.
Yeah, so I remember my Auntie Ruth, and I think my daddy maybe was in the audience, and I just wanted, I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And it was a reveal that you weren't coming inside a stage, that we were coming behind these boards, and then you would come out, it would be revealed. It was Thriller, which is just another level of camp. All of these like soon to be queer kids.
So Rock Challenge was this thing, like it was a load of schools, and they had to do like a 7-minute dance piece. Each school had to do like a 7-minute dance piece, and like it was huge, and it was in the waterfront, and the amount of money that schools pumped into these things, like I think it still
was Glee.
happened. It was like Glee, but I think it still happened a couple of years ago, because my friend works in St. Joseph's, maybe somewhere like that in Ravenhill Road, and messaged me saying, I have this like suitcase of like Rock Challenge costumes that we can't sell, and like we can't really do anything with. Do you want to take them and just see is there anything that you can use, and if not, just throw the rest out? And like she sent me like, and they're from about 5 years ago, but it's like, if you think Rock Challenge and what Rock Challenge is, I opened this suitcase and it was literally just Rock Challenge costumes, and they all smelled like sweaty teenagers. And I kind of went,
Leave that one in the bags.
I sort of imagine that Rock Challenge is a bit like Drag Race. You sort of start with your mall dress, but now they're like these animatronic AI focused custom things.
One of them was like, one of the pieces was like like your colour of hair bodysuit, but I mean disco dancing diamonded, like within an inch of its life, and I was like, could I fit into this? And I really tried, but it was definitely made for a 13-year-old.
Well, you're not 13,
and I'm not.
You know,
I don't have the 13-year-old feminine body.
It's a height thing.
That's it. It's
nothing
just
else.
The height. It's just the height.
Well, like Becky said 5 minutes ago, we do probably have to finish up our now about 3-hour long podcast. We would really love to have you back.
I will happily come back anytime.
I know we sort of talked about sitting and doing a bit of an interview, maybe the other way around. I'd love to do that. That would be wonderful. But it's been a pleasure. I could just talk to you forever.
I've loved it.
You sweetie.
And we'll also get a wee bit of time whenever we're not recording to have a wee bit of chat as well.
Well, then we'll just bitch about everyone. Trudy Scrumptious, you're on our list.
Yeah, we're coming for you.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We're so proud. Like, we love what we're just always. We went to see Mirrorball, and we were just like in full flood.
So
we actually had to
much to
leave
talk about.
before the end because we were crying so hard that we didn't want to do that to you. Basically, we didn't want to like put that on you.
It had just ended. I was in bits. We got to talk about it the next time.
Yes,
but we had to literally do a runner because I couldn't. I was done.
But also, Adult Panto, Waterfront.
That's what I was gonna say.
Desi the cow, come
Love
and see
it.
me. We're
Desi,
on
not
until the
Daisy.
29th of December.
Yes, we'll tell you all about it because we're going to go and see it too.
Yes,
How exciting!
No.
Well, until next time, I hope you lot have a ball and that you show some love.
Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Show some love.